I was looking at this in terms of people's faith in institutions, and certainly the polling community is right down there in terms of somewhere around where the media is right now in terms of people's lack of faith in institutions. So I saw in this question that you asked about whether you believe in polls and trust them. I thought it was actually somewhat refreshing that people who always believe or who mostly believe, depending on the source, which was, I guess, the plurality, I believe, but it was over a majority combined in those two categories. So the word believe in polls and a majority were connected, which I must say was a little surprised about, given the faith people have in, the drop in science, the drop in numbers, the arguments that, that the polls are rigged or hoax, fake polls. There's a lot of noise out there that would suggest that perhaps, the numbers would be worse than they are. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
This is pretty typical behavior for Trump, right? So anything that doesn't paint him positively, he doesn't really engage with the content and the substance of it, right? Or I need to change my behavior, or perhaps the criticism has some point in terms of how my administration is responding to something, and it's immediately, no, I'm going to attack the person or institution that seems to be criticizing me. And this is true for the media writ large, but it's also true of polling as well, which has shown a pretty significantly negative view in how he's handled the not only the response to coronavirus, but the protests as well. The public has largely turned against him on that response, and believes that when it comes to race relations in the U.S., that Trump's been a net negative. So, and again, throughout his presidency, he's gotten fairly negative marks among the public. I mean, I think way more, or significantly more, Americans have disapproved and approved of his performance as president. That's been pretty consistent from day one. So I think, yeah, Trump's been pretty critical of public polling, and as a pollster, right, I think we certainly deserve our lumps sometimes. We don't always get it right. It's a pretty broad industry with a lot of different types of people doing a lot of different types of polling. And I think sort of to casually dismiss public opinion research as something that cannot be relied upon or trusted is kind of an easy cop-out. And sort of, I think it's much better to sort of engage and critique and review particular polls, because there's a lot of variation and they say very different things sometimes. So I think it's much better if we're sort of smart and thoughtful about the way we engage with this, just like anything. And I constantly tell folks who read this stuff, including when I talk to student groups, that there is no public poll or any poll that is the sole arbiter of what Americans think or believe on a particular topic. They're iterative. They're part of a story. They're not the entire thing. And so any one poll should be read in the context of other surveys and to see. It's like a puzzle piece, right? So you put one piece and that's really interesting, but you need to sort of put the other ones around it sort of to understand and see the broader picture.
First of all, the polls were showing it was very close, even though there was an expectation that she was going to win based on the forecasters. And they were saying, it was an 80% or 90% chance, whatever, that she was going to win. And that's difficult to understand if you're not also presenting what uncertainty is in polling forecasts, and what probability actually means in this case. That just because, and we're seeing it again now, just because you see a forecaster provide a number about the likelihood of someone winning or not, or some event occurring or not, there's always a likelihood of that not occurring, and it may not be as large, but it could be significant. And I think the national polls in 2016 were spot on. Some of the state polls, I think, were either in the wrong states or ended too early and missed the late action, which the exit polls showed was towards Trump for candidates who dislike both Clinton and Trump. So we saw that. It's all very understandable in terms of the polls, which I don't think had a bad year. They probably could have used better press relations, but I don't think the numbers were bad. We had Clinton getting 2 points ahead in the national numbers, and it was 2 point something, I think, 2.6, 2.7 that she did carry the popular vote by. So having said all that, I think it's probably fair to say that the forecasters need to better communicate this election cycle what uncertainty is in their numbers and in their forecasts, so that we don't create that kind of common view as to the race and where it is.